My fellow Americans, we are and always will be a nation of immigrants. We were strangers once too. And whether our forebears were strangers who crossed the Atlantic, or the Pacific, or the Rio Grande, we are here only because this country welcomed them in.
I am 24 and I am from Mexico.
My name is Hassan Shabir. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Domenica Fernanda Martinez Garces, Ecuador.
My name is Rachel Morando. I am 28 years old. I am from Berkeley, California now, but originally from Tanzania, East Africa.
I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, and so it was just a blend of culture, and that's what made it a lot of fun. After apartheid had ended, there's still remnants of hate, and it was a country looking to heal, and because of that, there was a lot of crime. And at one point during the 90s, it was the most dangerous country in the world. And so we were victims of that. There was a home invasion when I was 9 years old. There was this idea that our family had a cell phone company. When they came into our home, I mean, there was many people that cut wires. There were lots of weapons. And yeah, it was traumatizing. You know, it's something that took a long time to overcome. And our family was lucky to survive that. And so my father decided, hey, we got to go to a better place. So he decided to, decided to get a tourist visa and come to the U.S. So my father migrated here first, and my mother and my two brothers and I came after him. And my parents, were young enough. My parents just told us they were going on a vacation. And so, I didn't get a chance to say proper goodbyes to any of the kids I grew up with or families. We just moved. It was just like it was a orchestrated move by my parents. Yeah, leaving as a kid was heartbreaking, because it wasn't until I was at the airport going to the exit and watching the families, Indian families, they just are so emotional, even for a regular trip locally or domestically, and so it hit me right in the moment that we weren't going back anytime soon. And so it was heartbreaking, really.
My mom is Juana and my dad is Juan, and they grew up in Mexico and Guanajuato. My parents migrated here with me when I was about a year old, and they crossed the border. When they got to Tijuana, they exchanged me to my uncles and my aunts, and I passed through the border with a cousin's passport.
Well, it was kind of exciting at first because it was like you get to go to this new land you've never been before. And since America is always shown a lot in movies and TV, I was pretty hyped about it. But when I actually got here, I realized just how different both countries were. People here are so advanced, it almost made me feel a bit inferior almost. But it was actually pretty fun once I actually got to learn about the country.
I came to California at 13 years old. I actually came in a week later, turned 13 years old. The journey was quite interesting, just coming from a different country as an immigrant, learning the culture shock that I experienced a couple years in. When I was 13, I came in actually straight from high school. I was a year ahead. And so that was really a difficult time transitioning as an immigrant who's young, coming of age period, as well as being in a new country, so that was really, really hard to go through.
Can't really think of any times that I felt unwelcome, but I remember in elementary school there's sometimes kids my age would always talk about immigrants and like people that weren't born here, people that don't speak proper English, and that's something that kind of had bothered me after I found out that I was an immigrant, because at some point I didn't know about it until later on throughout my years I found out.
English wasn't really a problem since I already knew it, but what was really a problem was the school and friends, because the school was so different here and all these kids like knew all these like singers and all these like pop stars and stuff, and I was like, I don't really know about that, so it made it a bit hard to socialize, and I actually wound up becoming more of a loner than my outgoing self that I used to be. Because back then, you like had a friend and they went to your house and you like played with your dolls or like, I don't know, painted your nails with like that fake nail polish that always peels off and it's so annoying. But here it's all like, you meet a person and they're like, what's your Insta? So it's really, you're not really friends anymore because you only like talk about superficial stuff and you don't really get like deep, how do you say it? But it's really not, it's like they're not really your friends, but you call them your friends.
I think we were still looking to get legal status. 9/11 happened. So on top of being Muslim, on top of being an immigrant, it became a very challenging time to find legal status, but also to feel normal. Because, I felt very secondary, because often comments made, being a Muslim. And as a kid, you're also confused about, America's going to war with people that look like you. And you're just like, well, I'm just very confused by all of it. I believe that as a kid, being Muslim was everything to us. It was our guiding light. It was why we were poor. It was why it rained. It's why there was beautiful skies. And as I got older, I just didn't want that to facilitate my life. I treat religion like a salad bar. I like to take all the good parts, and I leave the parts that I feel are unnecessary at the bar.
Did I ever feel unwelcomed as an immigrant? I would definitely say some parts of coming here in high school, especially. I think high school is quite difficult for a lot of people, and especially for an immigrant. It came to a point where I was having a really hard time fitting in, making friends because of the culture difference, the way I walked, the way I, clothed. It was just different the way I spoke, saying mom versus ma'am, the British school system that we learned back home relative to here was really difficult. I would definitely say, one thing I was teased about was the way I walked. I had my head held high like this, right, like a queen. And people weren't used to that, it's very different. It's like, why do you walk like that? So I found myself over the years just kind of learning to like walk like this. You know what I mean? So different things of like having to adjust to be part of a culture here, but still being so different and standing out. Now that I'm all grown, I guess you would say, I do consider myself a mixture of both. Definitely consider myself a Tanzanian, and as well as, a big part of who I am is American too. I think, me coming in from a different country, I was trying to find my way, also not knowing who I was as an individual. Whereas now, I think the most accurate way of saying that is I represent both cultures. I had to be an American, I had to, assimilate to different ways to be able to live here.
In elementary school, they would have me navigate through like, these English classes, ESL, whatever it was called. Even though my English was like, perfect because I would speak it in school, I feel like the school system seen it more as a like, okay, she speaks Spanish at home, her background is a Mexican. We're gonna have to put her in English classes because she may not be able to have that proper vocabulary that they want every student to have. And so at that time, I didn't really see it as a problem, but later throughout the years, when I was like in high school and like stuff like that, and people really started speaking about it, it kind of like opened my eyes. Like, you know, like it's true, like the school system, like really seeing it as like these minority kids are not as superior as like, you know, these American ones. So it's eye-catching when you're older. Graduating from high school was something big for me and for my family. Going to college was something that my parents always wanted me to do, getting my degree. And it's also been really fun because there's a lot of other people that are first generations. And so I feel like we have a really big community where it's like people see first generations as like, you know, these kids that are really starting to like, you know, do this whole change in their family and generational wise. And so, yeah.
I'd say the teachers were in a way meaner over there because they were really strict. You really couldn't step out of line there, and it wasn't as fun as it was here. It was all like memorize this, memorize that, and you didn't really get to like talk with your teachers or like become friends, get to know them. It was just like this very mean person that just like taught to you, and you just have to learn and then leave. But here it's like there's more of a sense of community here. You know, classes are way different here, and it's actually more fun to learn here than learning over there. Well, the pros is that I can study at my own pace and not have to socialize as much as before, but that's also like a double-edged sword because it's a new year and I don't know any of the kids in my class because I didn't know many people last year. So this year is like double, like times harder because it's just like, oh, hi, and they're like hi, and then just shut up and you don't even get to speak to anybody. And the only people I really interact with are like my family.
My life changed after I got DACA by getting my permit for driving, getting my social, and getting my employment authorization. And it kind of, I see it more as a like a, how do I say it, like the steps to take of being like an American, you know? Like there's some people that are using fake socials and like, you know, driving illegally, and it's like, for me, I kind of like, yeah, I'm an immigrant, but at the same time, I have all these documents that I need to be, you know, legal to do all the things I'm doing. So I kind of like changed my life in that perspective.
I've been on under the DREAM Act for 4 years now. So I'm still under that. As you may know, the new administration now is working on creating citizenship pathway. And so I'm waiting to hear about that. Nothing else has been really come in place as far as a plan. So I'm still as a dreamer right now, which means I can work. You know, I have work authorization. I have a social security number that I could use, you know, to employers. I can be able to get benefits, you know, insurance, stuff like that, invest. Being a dreamer really affected me as far as always having questions is, am I going to be able to afford college? You know, luckily, you know, my DREAM Act came before I got into UC Davis, you know, so that way I was able to get financial aid because now I had Social Security. So I paid 3 years of community college out of pocket. And then now, because I got my DREAM Act status, you know, I was able to qualify for financial aid. So I ended up just paying $600 for rent, you know, in Davis. So financially, it was a huge, huge leverage for me to be able to go to school without having such a hard, you know, impact of not paying for college and so forth.
So we came on tourist visa and we overstayed our visa because the plan was, once we're here, we were going to find attorneys that could give us a path because we were clearly in danger in South Africa and it wasn't safe. But according to asylum laws, it's not a war zone. And even if we brought our documents of, you know, that home invasion, there was a chance that we may not, you know, because once you get rejected from asylum, you're on deportation proceedings. And so for that reason, my father was in a limbo, and we just weren't documented for a long time. No, so eventually we all got our citizenship, or legal status with time. Yeah, I went to San Francisco State University, Gators, and I graduated with a degree in kinesiology, the study of movement. Currently, my profession is I'm a fitness instructor. I'm also an artist, and it's been my biggest it's my biggest vice and biggest therapy. I've been an artist since I was a kid in South Africa. It started off on the living room floor in Johannesburg because I couldn't go outside. And as I got older, it's transformed into what it is today. And now I have a pretty big portfolio of work.
Yeah, my major and my aspirations are to become a midwife. Steps that I'm taking to do that is getting my bachelor's in science, getting my RN, and going to graduate school, and hopefully getting my PhD in midwifery. Kind of like as when I was younger, kind of wanted to lean towards something big that would benefit me and my family, and so nursing was always my go-to.
The place I currently work right now, I work in a real estate firm, and I've been here for, I would say now, close to 3 months. It's a new thing for me, completely new space, coming from finance, taking a break and then coming to real estate now. I definitely feel children of immigrants face a lot of work challenges, and I would definitely say a lot of it is pressure. Pressure as far as where you come from. Pressure of, one thing I was communicating with one of my friends was imposter syndrome, which is very prevalent in minority groups of people, especially in children of immigrants. You're coming to a new setting, people who don't look like you are sort of the head of these organizations. And so constant pressure of like, am I great for this job? A lot of pressure of, okay, I'm here representing people who look like me. What do people think of me being the only person representing people who look like me? So, pressure, just performance, you have to show up twice as much. I mean, whether we talk about it or not, you just have to, because you're constantly thinking this position can be uprooted from me anytime, and so it's a great thing as far as your mindset. You're always constantly feeling like, I have to perform, I have to do it, which has great negatives, and huge positives too at the same time. You're always on your toe. You always have to do twice as hard, always have to be over prepared because you don't know when the next question is going to come, but as far as negative, you're always doubting yourself, and it's a constant battle. That I find, honestly, that I'm still working through every day.
I believe that children of immigrants and immigrants in general are at a disadvantage, mostly because society, the odds are stacked against them. There's this whole narrative that they're taking American jobs. Meanwhile, even legal immigrants have a lot of trouble, maintaining. They have to perform in order to remain in the country, keep their visas going. So all around, I think the odds are against immigrants. I think we need to look at people less so as an entity, whether they're immigrants or a certain race, and look at them as humans. And you can't judge a book by its cover, but I think humans should all be treated equally.
I feel like people should know that immigrants come here for a better life, a better status, opportunity to build something within themselves and for their family. Even though there's some people that really don't take advantage of it, I feel like immigrants really see it as a step to being happy and being able to live life. I know some American citizens that are like, really don't take advantage of the things that they have. And so it really is unfortunate enough for them to not see it how immigrants see it. Like whenever I would see somebody not getting a job or putting a step forward and going to school and like getting all these degrees, even though they have the ability to do it, they have the status, it sucks because sometimes those immigrants that really want to have it don't have it.
My message to others, children of immigrant in the workforce, you know, how they can strive for success, is just always having a spirit of excellence. You know, I always say, this is one thing too I mentioned in my team, like, the universe will never shortchange you. God will never shortchange you. You get whatever you put in. You might put in twice as much, you will get it no matter what. So if you strive to do more, you will always get more. You will always earn more. But one thing I would like to emphasize on is the narrative. You know, being a children of immigrant or child of immigrant, in my way of thinking it, is, you know, you have endless opportunity. You always think you have endless opportunity. But what separates you from endless opportunity and where you're at is mindset. You know, so narrative is a big thing, owning your narrative, you know, and not living too much in your narrative, but thinking, okay, I grew up in poverty, I'm here, half of my family's not here with me, I'm pretty much alone, you know, how can I survive, you know, moving forward? So taking that and really accepting that narrative and using it to fuel you, you know, because otherwise we have so much pain that we come from, we've seen so much pain, but that pain can debilitate you, whereas empower you. So you always have to choose to feel empowered.